Thank you very much, Manpreet. Thank you for the organizers for the invitation. Yes, on this issue of disarmament, arms control, non-proliferation, as you said, the mood, the feeling is fairly pessimistic, fairly gloomy, because we have seen actually a set of challenges, mostly during the Trump administration, when Trump withdrew from very important treaties that have been developed over the years and that contributed to maintaining some strategic stability, such as the intermediate nuclear weapon systems force treaty, the Open Skies Treaty, the Arms Trade Treaty, and then some also provisions about anti-personnel landmines that the U.S. hadn't joined, but that even Trump worsened the attitude of the United States. This set of setbacks actually were a blow to the arms control community and overall strategic stability. And then, of course, we had all the challenges due to the pandemic, with a number of very important meetings like the Non-Proliferation Treaty Review Conference postponed. Of course, most other processes or negotiations stopped, frozen. And paradoxically, at the same time, where GDP was shrinking by 4.4%, military spending was increasing by 2.6%. And this seems, more and more shocking, more and more outrageous. Now, as you said, there is some silver lining or some good news in spite of this bad news. First, well, Scott, you mentioned the ban treaty, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which of course is rejected by nuclear powers and their allies. It's controversial, but it's a new step. It opens a new page, a new era. And of course, time will tell how effective it can be, but it's a very important event. Then, of course, there was the extension of the New START Treaty by the Biden administration, and the agreement just concluded in Geneva with Putin on starting a new set of talks, strategic stability talks, which will have an arms control component, hopefully to develop a new treaty for after New START, and a so-called strategic stability, confidence building measures, etc. So again, that's good news. We'll have to see how it develops, but it's good decision. And then the third good piece of good news is the restoration of JCPOA, which was Biden's pledge. It's being discussed at the moment in Vienna. Everybody's hopeful that they will find an agreement to allow for the US to rejoin the agreement and Iran to come back to full compliance with it. And then there were a number of other points that didn't hit the headlines, but what are important for the arms control community, the agreement of the open-ended working group on cybersecurity, thanks to the mediation of Switzerland. And then also something that hardly anybody noticed, that China acceded to the Arms Trade Treaty. Again, China was a supporter of the treaty initially, but it abstained from joining, and now it's part of this big community that is still lacking, of course, some of the major arms exporters like the US or Russia. So these are important points that we should build on. Of course, there are still challenges. The NPT review conference will still be postponed, probably to January next year, and there will be still polarization about the TPNW. As we see, this is happening in a context of arms race, development of new systems, modernization, even increase in arsenals, which hadn't taken place for some time, like by the UK, and an increase in nuclear risk, the use of nuclear weapons. So again, all this will be very important to watch during the post-New START talks, the strategic stability talks. But this will not, of course, be sufficient, because we are still dealing with a number of regional crises, of course, between NATO and Russia, in the Middle East. Even if JCPOA is restored, we still are in a conflict situation with a lot of potential for escalation into actual conflict. Korean Peninsula, obviously, unsolved issue, unsolved business. So that remains to be, again, put back on the table. And of course, in your region, South Asia, urgency of risk reduction measures because of this, risk of escalation from conventional conflict to nuclear conflict, with the importance of confidence and transparency building measures, military to military communication, conflict prevention, and more effort on conflict resolution. Because I think, as we heard already, from previous speakers, it's, arms buildup is the result of conflict. So unless you do something about the conflict, it will be difficult to reduce the risk of escalation and even up to nuclear conflict, which would have global consequences. So I will stop here, and I'm ready to answer any questions.